So welcome back folks, this is Shardul Gavande and in today's session we will see how Android Studio actually works. So in my system I have downloaded and installed Android Studio, and this is the screen which I get to see when I open Android Studio. So I have installed Android Studio version 2.3. So let's start with it. So we have here multiple options. The first option is start a new Android Studio project. So if you want to create a new Android Studio project, so we'll go for this as start a new Android Studio project. Then if you have an existing Android Studio project in your machine and if you want to rework on it, then you go for this open an existing Android Studio project. And if you have an Android Studio project which is built on Eclipse software, and if it has old versions of Android, then you need to import that project by this option, that is import project Eclipse ADT or Gradle, etc. So Android Studio will import that project, and it will also simultaneously add the required Gradle files which is required to run that project. So it will match the your imported project with the existing Android Studio files. So that is something very a new feature, a good feature of Android Studio. So let's start with a new Android Studio project by clicking on this. So we get a window over here which says to configure a new project by giving application name to it. So you can specify any name you want to give to your application. So I'll give as my app. The next is the company domain and package name. So now what is this? So you can, if you observe, you can see that the package name is the exact reverse of the company domain. Yeah, so this package name is a unique package name. It must be unique because when you deploy your application on Play Store, this package name matters a lot. So it plays a very important role while uploading or deploying your application on Play Store. The next is the project location. So I have set my project location as in my local disk F. So let's proceed next. Then here there are multiple options as in which platforms you want to run your Android, that is phone and tablet, where as in the early video, in my first video I have mentioned that Android runs on Android is everywhere, that is on phone and tablet, where TV, Android Audio and etc. So let's select this phone and tablet, which is by default selected. So the minimum SDK version for this phone, for our phone or tablet. So there are many SDK versions over here, starting from the API 9, that is gingerbread, then honeycomb, ice cream sandwich, jelly bean, KitKat, and etc. Latest is Nougat 7.1.1, API 25. So what if I select this one, which is marshmallow? So let's select this. So there is a information below that by targeting API 23 and later, your app will run approximately on 4.7% of the devices. That means Marshmallow is only used by 4.7% of the devices. So our application will actually run on the devices, but many users do not use this Marshmallow. They are not updated with the operating with the API. So let's see what happens with API 18. So yeah, we are getting information over here as 76.9% of the devices are using this. So we'll go for this as the percentage is quite good. So let's select API 18, which is Android 4.3 Jelly Bean, and we'll proceed now. So here we have a template which Android Studio provides us. So there are many templates over here, like basic activity, empty activity, full screen activity, navigation drawer, which the toggle navigation shows up. So many activities over here. So for the time being, we'll select empty activity as we want to learn Android. So we'll select empty activity so that we can code in this activity. There is no ready-made stuff in this. So that is good for learning. So we'll select empty activity and then we'll proceed. Now here our template is being shown as empty activity. There is no layout or nothing is there in this activity. Here it says give your activity name. So by default is main activity name is given, and this is the layout file of this particular activity. This is the .xml file. Okay, so we'll talk about this .xml file later after finishing this project. So let's finish. If you wish to rename this, you can rename. I'll keep it as the same, and let's finish this. Create a project. So our project has been created now. So it takes a time, it's taking time. Yeah, it shows here as building my app Gradle project info. It is building the Gradle file, starting the Gradle daemon. So what exactly is this Gradle will talk once application gets created. So let's see. It's configuring, resolving. Okay, it's taking time. Resolving dependencies. So here we go with our creation of app, and yes, our application is created. And this is just the tip of the day, or we'll ignore this thing. Every time some update comes, then it just pops up when you open your Android application. So we can see here processes are running. There are still two processes running over here down. Yeah, so it's loading our project. Yeah, it's loading. So here is our app. So we have a folder called app. In app and Gradle, so in app we'll see what all things we have. So we are having manifest, Java, and res called as resources. So let's see what is in manifest folder. So here it is indexing. Yeah, indexing and done. Yeah, we can see here that great build finish in 33 seconds and 393 milliseconds. So let's start. So let's see what is in the manifest folder. So in manifest we have Android manifest.xml. It is an XML file, right? So what is in this file? So we can see that we have our activity here. We have our activity application with application Android icon, label, round icon. So we can see here that by default Android has its own icon. We can change over here. So we'll see this further in later videos. So let's just focus on what does Android manifest has. So it has an activity. The activity which we create, that is .java file, or you can say the main activity, or the multiple activities which we'll create further. So we specify here our main activity which is to be called. So as in the earlier videos I have told that once you launch your app or you run your app, the main activity is being loaded. So how does the application understands which activity to load once you open your app? So it is over here as we mentioned as android.intent.category.launcher. So here we specify that this activity dot main activity should be launched at the very first when the app loads. So if you're creating multiple activities and if you want to set that particular activities as your launcher activities, then you just need to mention that activity name over here and just set that activity category as android.intent.category.launcher. Okay, so let's now move to Java folder. What do we have in this folder? We have main activity. So this is main activity.java, the by default activity which is created once you create your project. So this is the package name which we have created, which got selected automatically while creating our project. These are the classes which Android has automatically imported. We have public, we have a class called main activity, public class called main activity, and an on create method with set content view r.layout.activity underscore main. So now what is this r.layout.activity underscore main? As we have known that activity underscore main is a XML file. So this is the path where is this activity actually resides. So r.layout.activity underscore main. So r means the resource folder. In the resources we have layout folder, and in layout we have our activity underscore main XML file. So what are these map values, and Roybal will understand it later. So let's just focus on the layout file. So here is our activity underscore main.xml file. This is the design part. In this part we have design and text both. So text is the part where we will actually code as how do we want our app to look. So the preview will appear over here. So what we can see is here we are having hello world. So let's zoom in. Yeah, we are having hello world over here, which is the text view. As by default they have taken the text view, and the Android colon text is hello world. So what if I replace this with a name is knowledge? So will it reflect over here? Yes, it will. So now we can see that the name has been changed to ace knowledge. So this is how, this is the basic design view which I am showing you. So this is my app which we have given our application name. So this is the XML file where actually your application design part will work, and the coding part of your application will be over here in the in multiple .java files. This is the by default Java file which has been created. So let's see what is Gradle now. Build Gradle is basically it is a build tool where we specify our compiled SDK version, our minimum SDK version, as on which SDK version it should be compiled. This is minimum SDK version, that 18 API should be there. Below 18 API it will not work. It will not run on below 18 API versions. And your target SDK version, which is 25, which is the latest one. Now what are these dependencies? Now we have dependencies over here as your jar file, your libraries, your supporting config files. All these files are important to develop your Android application. These are the supporting files, you can say, to develop your application. So now let's run this application and see what is the output. So initializing ADB. So these are the virtual devices which I have created. So you can create a new virtual device too by clicking on this, create a new virtual device. We are having category as phone, so we'll select this phone category, and let's select a new device as Nexus S. So select your device, click on next. Startup orientation you want, as in what orientation you want your app to look like, in landscape mode or portrait. Let us select portrait mode and then finish. Yeah, it is loading now. As I've told, this is our Android virtual device AVD. In theory video we have seen AVD, what is AVD and how AVD works. So now I've selected as an Nexus S API 25, and I would like to run on this device. So I'll select OK, and now it will load the emulator. Actually we can run our application on your physical device also by plugging your USB to your phone and just enabling the developers option. So in both manners we can run our Android application virtually as well as physically. So now it is running, the emulator will launch. So yes, we are having an emulator over here. We can see the emulator has been launched. It is starting, waiting for the target device to come online. So here in Android Monitor, actually we can monitor the background processing which happens after loading our application. For example, if you click on a button and what the background processing is been done, you can actually see over here in Android Monitor. So it is easy to track our activities, background processes. So now it is installing our APK file on this device, and here it has been launching, and here it goes, launching activity. Yes, we have got with our application loaded. So here is a app, Android app, as named as my app, and Ace Knowledge, which we have edited. So that's it from this video. We'll code and design much more better in the next subsequent video. Thank you very much, and please do subscribe.